Orange Bowl was built I think the same time as the Roman Coliseum, wasn't it? I mean, what a shithole. I couldn't believe it. You needed a machete to get out of the players' parking lot. The grass was like 6 feet high. I mean, it was unbelievable. You couldn't even find your car with a compass. Incredible. Tony would argue, the opposite. But I mean, if you're being honest about it, look, I know it had a great atmosphere or whatever when you were inside. The place was shaking, and that probably was, a significant home field advantage for the Dolphins and the Hurricanes.
The opposing team was scared that they would die.
Yeah. But I'll never forget my first time. I went down into the bowels there of the Orange Bowl to go out on the field, and I'm looking up at this structure, and it literally looked like it was built with an erector set. I hope this guy had all of the little nuts and bolts there, because you know how you always lost one, and that would cause this beautiful bridge that you had built to collapse. And this is how this place is put together. I think, the Golden Glades interchange was a better conception architecturally. And that's a piece of shit.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
The beauty of living in South Florida. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz on this fine Tuesday. And it's been glorious outside of late. People are passing you by in the streets saying hello. Hey, what a beautiful day, man. Isn't it a nice day? How long does that spirit last? Not too long, right? We haven't had that spirit here since 1969. That was the last time everybody was friendly to each other and wasn't scared to death if somebody looked at you cross-eyed and immediately started reaching for some kind of a weapon. But loose girders were the things that really kind of frightened me about the infrastructure of the Orange Bowl. And people insisted for years, Lubie. You don't know how many calls I had to take on that over the years. You probably, I guess, caught some of it even during 12 years we were together there on 940, and that was way after the fact. I mean, the stadium had already been converted into a baseball ballpark, and, it was an ancient relic when they finally made that conversion. And yet people would call up and go, yeah, you know what's wrong with the Dolphins? We'll ask OJ McDuffie this when he comes on later on. He'll probably, I don't think during his Dolphin career, I want to say he played 0 games at the Orange Bowl. Came after the fact. Yeah. But there will be people that to this day will insist, that's what happened. They haven't been good since they left the Orange Bowl. It was a big advantage.
Yeah, that's pathetic. It wasn't the advantage.
Holy shit.
The Canes,
why not just play at the Polo Grounds? I mean,
the Canes' last game Orange Bowl was 29 or 40 something to nothing loss to a bad Virginia team. Like, that's the biggest bunch of garbage. Get the fuck out of here.
The atmosphere there, I mean, the place would shake, but that was largely because it was about to collapse. If nobody was in it, it wasn't safe to be around that building. How is some, authority didn't come in there, some government authority, and say, hey, that's it. No one can come in here anymore. In fact, we don't even want anybody within 2 miles of this joint. Was beyond comprehension. And I do remember hacking my way with a machete, like I was cutting sugar cane out of, the parking lot there, which fortunately I was lucky to be accommodated parking passes. Otherwise, you were looking at no blackie. 10 blocks from the Orange Bowl. That was really a relic and typical of the South Florida sports fan who refuses to let go of old traditions and old ideas.
Yep.
It's just one of those things. Years and years of people. Hey, you know what's missing? I tell you what, if we were at the Orange Bowl, this team would be 9-3. Like, I don't know about that. They're 3-9 right now, so the chances of the Orange Bowl making that much of a difference were probably slim to none. What a beautiful day, Lubie. I don't know that this is not somewhat unprecedented. What's happening today? Not only do you have a Game 7 coming up with 50-1 on the line there with the Arizona Diamondbacks still alive. Unbelievable. How did the Snakes do it? They put it on the Phillies last night. That Philadelphia crowd is so insane at the beginning of the game especially. But they were quickly silenced last night as the Diamondbacks got off to a pretty good start in this ball game and held on all the way. So they force a Game 7 tonight which is always a lot of fun. It wasn't so much fun for the Astros yesterday, although I think enough people despise the Astros that was viewed as an extremely favorable result, but it triggered a lot of different things. It was a springboard for many questions, not the least of which, I don't know, how important is this to you? Do you think Dusty Baker retires, supposedly mulling retirement
He
after
did.
this loss?
He said it's his last year.
Okay, he's done.
Yeah. It broke late last night. He was retiring.
Okay.
Retiring. He's done.
Retiring. Yeah, no, they would have brought him back. I mean, what did he do? He lost a 7-game series to a very good Rangers team. That is no disgrace. Not the reason that you would let a guy go. Even can't imagine the fans would even be calling for that. Dusty, people really rallied around him, which was nice to see because he was a good guy and very deserving, as we were talking about yesterday. I mean, always been like a very decent human being, Dusty Baker. So, an easy guy to root for. And, he was so upset with that Abreu thing, which he had every reason to be. That was the most ridiculous thing. And Major League Baseball upheld this 2-game suspension, although they allowed the guy to finish the playoffs. The reliever who plunked Garcia, which that was all on Garcia, all of it. There's just no way. Even with the unwritten rules of baseball, that when you're down 4-2 in the 7th or 8th inning of a postseason game where you're facing elimination from the postseason altogether, that you're going to throw at a guy because he was showboating after he hit a home run.
Yeah, there's no way. What would you do that for? You're wasting a pitch. You can't afford to waste a pitch.
Wow, you can't afford to put him on base, period. I mean, they had a guy on base, so it was going to be first and second. There's just no way you're hitting that guy. It's impossible to conceive. If any pitcher deliberately threw at Adolis Garcia in that spot, that should be it. They should never pitch for that team again.
Yep.
It'd be over. I mean, what are you proving? You're proving to your teammates, oh, yeah, well, I tell you what, he's not going to make us look bad. Ridiculous bit of machismo supposedly in play there.
Be a moron.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. It's insane. What umpire could think, oh, yeah, that makes sense. He was mad at this guy for showing off because he stood at home plate like a clown and then dropped his bat and was making all kinds of gestures as he rounded the bases. Fine. Okay, it's a big moment in a playoff game. That's the way people are in sports today.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
This whole Barry Sanders idea, which I was always an advocate of just flip the ball to the referee, or hand it to him and act like you've been there before, that's gone.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know if people want that. I mean, people like this showboating.
I can't even lie. When Purdy threw one of the dumbest interceptions I've ever seen last night, as they were marching down the field to win the game.
Yeah.
And the guy did the fucking worm and then got into the BB dance pose. Break. I can't lie, the B-boy. I thought it was fucking cool. Like I'm not a big showboating fan, but it was the fact that I'm like, in the middle of this game, he knew to do a goddamn worm. He did in the middle of the field. It wasn't even like a touchdown. It was like at the 30-yard line.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's something to be said, for enjoying yourself while you're playing also. I mean, that was one thing about Brett Favre that everybody always kind of a lot of things are said about Brett Favre and the way he was as a player and as a human being and that business, still very, very shady, huh? How he ended up taking public funds that was meant to help like retarded children and
criminal.
And built like a volleyball court because his daughter was on the school's team. And that has a dark cloud hovering over that. And I don't know that he ever treated anybody especially badly, except that whole business of what was he showing his pecker as he was on a video call.
Yeah, the former FSU.
He was Mel Tucker before Tucker, ever took the job there in Michigan State. But nonetheless, I mean, regardless, one of the things that people liked about him is, he would get his head knocked off and shake the guy's hand and say, "Nice hit," because it seemed like he was enjoying himself out there.
Yes.
He enjoyed playing. So there's something to be said for showing that spirit. I don't know. Is it showboating? Is it intimidation? Is it outside the lines of good taste?
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe, but it's all part of the game now. So this Abreu thing, though, for the unwritten rules of baseball about showing the guy up, showing the team up. Look, it would have been better if Garcia just hit the ball and ran to first base, not knowing if it was going out of the park. I mean, how many times have we seen it? Giancarlo Stanton is probably the worst offender there. where he hits the ball, and he hits it so hard you think it's going not only out of the park but out of the county. And yet it'll go careening off the wall, and there's Stanton, who's been standing at home plate for half an hour, and he's lucky to get to first base and not get thrown out.
He gets a single.
Embarrassing, right? More so than anything else. But today's going to be wonderful. So you have a game 7, and it was interesting yesterday because they started Scherzer, the Rangers, and after getting out of the first inning, he was getting touched up pretty well. So he didn't go too far into the ball game. And then they had to bring in Montgomery in relief. I always love that in a game 7. You had 2 guys, starters, that were required at the trade deadline to help bolster the team's chances of making it through the postseason, and both of them appeared in the same game, as the Rangers easily won Game 7 against the Astros. 11-4 was the final in that one, and now await the winner of the Arizona series against the Philadelphia Phillies. So that game takes place tonight, but the NHL is stepping it up today. Lubie, did you see what's happening there?
No.
Full schedule of games. I don't know what kind of festival, and is there any significance to this day? Is this the day that, like, Gordie Howe was born?
I was going to say, I think the NBA starts today.
NBA starts today as well. And the NHL is running a full slate of games. Is that WNBA type of retaliation? Where they wanted to seize the opportunity, so they have like everybody playing on Black, what is that, Black Tuesday or Wednesday? Yeah, Black Wednesday.
Yeah.
Where after the baseball All-Star game, there used to be no sporting activity of any type. Now you have so many leagues. I would imagine, the MLS is going because they're year-round sport.
They've dubbed it, as Sarni likes to tell us, the Frozen Frenzy. What is the reasoning for this? So do they explain the reasoning?
Frozen Frenzy. Okay, yeah, maybe Jim Sarni has the explanation on this thing. We want to have him call up. And
Maybe there would be is it the one day? Well, there's some football, isn't there still? Because there was like 50 days of football in a row. So there must be some MAC or some fucking fakakta college football game.
There's football tonight. Two games on the slate here.
Baseball was supposed to be done. Is that what it is? So they were going to capitalize on baseball being done, and now there's a game.
I don't think so. No, it's the Frozen Frenzy. They're going crazy here.
Should be coming up. Like, why? What is today?
Panthers are the most heavily favored team on the board today.
Oh, Jesus.
You have to lay 265 to win 100 as they take on the San Jose Sharks.
The Sharks are.
Okay, the Sharks are bad.
They're 0-4-1.
0-4-1. Okay, well, you'd have to lay a pretty hefty price if you wanted to include them. I guess. What would you throw them in there in a parlay? Bad piece of betting advice there, huh? Why don't you complicate the matter, Defo, instead of keeping it simple and throw in a stone chalk favorite? You may as well be betting a 3 to 5 shot at Parks in the first race, knowing that there's no chance that they're going to put this odds-on favorite over on a Tuesday afternoon when you have nothing but sick degenerates out there, and the money is pouring in from various betting locations throughout the world, and that's the only people that have any interest whatsoever in your stinking 3 to 5 shot. Yeah, full slate of games in the NHL and the beginning of the NBA, which leads to some interesting stuff, Lubie. Because there are many sort of survey articles today in the New York Post as they go ahead and trying to get the opinion of some of their columnists, top guys. Mike Vaccaro took part in this, about the top 10 questions in the NBA this year. Top 10 questions in the NBA. The favorites to win it all are the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Well, it shouldn't be the Celtics. They keep thrusting up the Celtics. The Celtics, adding Holiday makes them better than the Heat. It doesn't make them better. They still have their two best players are guys that fade away in the fucking playoffs. No, it's not this. They do this thing with the Celtics, and I'm not the professor, but it's fucking weird. Like, the Heat were up 3-0, and they were still giving the Celtics, and the Celtics almost did win, but mathematically they shouldn't have had a chance to win. Like, they have this weird thing, this love affair with the Celtics, and I don't know if it's being in Boston or where ESPN. The Nuggets, the Lakers, I would say the Suns and the Bucks are all better than the Celtics. Like, they have this weird fucking thing with the Celtics. Like,
There is a fascination. You're right. A lean towards always including.
They have a lot of guys that look like they're good and are good in the regular season, but Jason Tatum is as inconsistent a star in the playoffs as anyone. Like, he'll have a 20-point quarter and then not score for 3. Like, that one game that he played well, he didn't do shit for 3 quarters and he was healthy. He did nothing.
One guy has Tatum winning the MVP this year.
Yeah, no, because they have a bunch of athletes. They have a bunch of stars on their team. It's going to probably be Dame. Dame's going to go fucking insane this year. Bucks
are also 4-1.
The question is the Bucks. Can Dame stay healthy, and can two guys carry a bunch of bag ladies? Like that's
I like that you're using the term bag ladies now.
Well, that's what their team is now. Like Middleton's fucking old. He did nothing. Like they needed him desperately in that Heat series, and he sucked. Like he's old.
Did they sign Matthew Dellavedova? Is he?
I don't know.
He probably is on the Bucks roster.
Ross Holiday was a big thing for them. Like, but they have two of the top 10 players in the league. One of the top 2 players in the league. Like,
you'd have to figure that Lillard is going to prosper, and they just signed Antetokounmpo to. So too bad sayonara New York Knicks and their aspirations. Snaring this guy, he just signed a 3-year extension, $180 million. 3-year extension, $60 million a year now for a star NBA player. 60, not even a star necessarily, just I mean, there have to be a dozen guys that are making $60 million a year now in the NBA. Amazing. That it pays to be in a sport where you have a small roster.
Yes,
that's just killing it internationally with all kinds of money that they're making, and then of course the connections with our beloved friends from China. Where, the NBA is the only. I don't know if they're the only league, but then they certainly are prospering from their connections to China, which everybody else says. I saw that thing on 60 Minutes, that they're like the major threat to democracy around the universe, and that they hate us like poison. The Nuggets, surprisingly, to repeat, 5.5 to 1, 550 to win 100. Or you for 100, you win 550. The Suns, I don't know. The Suns just there's something wrong with them, no?
Well, they're the same guy. Yeah. They have 3 guys that like to score a lot and don't do a lot of other things. I know Booker pretends to do other stuff. He doesn't. He likes to score. If you stop his scoring, he's literally null and void. Beal, same thing. Durant, same thing. Like Durant at one point was decent defensively. He's not anymore. He doesn't facilitate. He doesn't rebound. He likes to score. They have 3 guys of varying heights that like to do the exact same thing. They don't have a facilitator anymore because Paul is in
Golden State,
San Francisco. And so and they don't play defense. So
right. I don't know. Am I the only guy that thought Ayton was a decent player? Certainly for the regular season, he was a good guy to have at the defensive end when you have all of that offensive star power.
Yes.
And guys that are not inclined to necessarily turning up at the defensive end of the court. It was good to have, somebody back there that actually was playing a little bit of D around the basket and in the paint. So yeah, they seem like, a fairly reasonable proposition, getting 5.5 to 1. The Suns, I don't know about, 650 to 1 to win the championship this year. Lakers are 13 to 1. Warriors, I don't see it, 14 to 1. Clippers, everybody always has the Clippers in there. The wise guys, the cutesies, they always want to throw the Clippers in. I don't know that they do it. The Heat are like 30 to 1.
I love it.
30 to 1. Would you take a little sniff on that, Lubie? Why don't you grind a grand out of the purse of the lovely Shirley?
Only a grand for 30 to 1. You can just throw $100. Three grand would be fine with me. I mean, I'd be very happy winning 3 fucking grand.
If you happen to be right about this, wouldn't it be great though if you walked away with 30,000?
Oh yeah.
By the time you get to the end of this NBA season, think about this. You could have burnt 10 $100 bills. Well, not you in restaurants, because you follow the Mayo system of wherever it's free, it's me. But I mean, if you think about it, 30,000 is significant, right? Imagine that. You come around to when did I finish this? In July, right around the 4th of July. You end up cashing a ticket for 30,000 because you had faith in your Miami Heat, which there are people that believe that you should not discount them summarily, as a lot of people have, because they didn't get Damian Lillard, because they're essentially, a similar team to what they put out on the floor last year.
I mean, they're better. They add a guy who's a 25-4 guy who's pissed. like bringing Hero in under those conditions, and he's not mad at the Heat. He actually understands the Heat's angle. That he handled this really well, where they made sure, look, dude, we like you a lot. The only reason we're willing to trade you is we have a chance at a top 10 player. Yeah. Like, how can a young guy be mad at that? Like, he's mad at the league. So that's fine with me. Be mad at the league. Like, they all thought he was a piece. They were comparing him to, like, 8th man on the bench. Well, do we really want Hero over fucking Schmanky Schmank? It's like, yes, you do.
He was kind of dismissed by virtually everybody, as not being a very good commodity. And yet, the guy's got some credentials, and he's still very young, has an exciting game. And I don't think he's incapable of improving where he's at. I mean, he doesn't seem like a player that has reached his full level of NBA maturity yet. And we've seen other guys that had this kind of seemingly intrinsic talent in the early stages of their career, eventually, really figure it out and become, outstanding, top-notch professional basketball players. So that's still out there for Tyler Hero. It's certainly not out of the question. And is he in the right circumstance to see that kind of development?
Yep.
Heat culture, Lubie.
Well, there's not a lot of pressure. He
culture.
doesn't have to be the number one or number two. He can be the third guy. He can be the fourth guy at times.
Yeah.
That's perfect for him. And I don't know, like the Heat to me are the third team in the East. And the other two teams have questions. Like I don't trust Porzingis to stay healthy. Dame with the Bucks, he hasn't stayed healthy the last 2 years, so we'll see. And the Heat, the same thing. The injuries have always fucked the Heat. So those three teams have a lot of questions. Like I'm curious where Vaccaro, if he even puts the Heat in the top 10 of questions, the way that people have dismissed the Heat.
Oh no, people they're not necessarily as dismissive of the Miami Heat as you would think.
Okay.
Because most people believe that in Spoelstra we trust. In fact, here's the question and the way this survey went. The team that will play better than expected, all right?
Oh, there you go.
So the first guy up is columnist Stefan Bondi. And he says, the Heat have been written off after missing out on Dame Lillard. This is your theory. But they're returning Tyler Hero and Eric Spoelstra. Squeezed out high playoff seeds with much less. In the West, we're going with the Clippers, both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. That seems to be a common mistake.
That's the problem. Yeah, like there you got a different kind of level of injury. They're always injured for like the last 5 years.
The other sleeper team that got 2 out of 3 votes here, the Thunder. Everybody thinks the Thunder are going to be pretty good.
Well, because they have a lot of talent. They have an interesting team. It's just, can your guy, the walking toothpick, stay healthy? They should call him the fucking walking toothpick. Like
Chet Holmgren, yeah.
Yeah. Like he has a lot of talent. Like literally Wemby, he actually got Wemby's goat a couple times. Like that shows how good the kid is. He's just so thin.
And as we said, I mean, they're going to have to institute the 3 knockdown rule.
And he falls down a lot.
Take it, dust it off from its days in professional boxing, where it always is. It's the first thing whenever they used to put, well, here are the rules tonight, John, what do you think? And it was always, there's no 3 knockdown rule, no standing 8 count. Fighter cannot be saved by the bell, including in any round, including the 12th and final. After 4 rounds, we go to the scorecards in the event of an accidental headbutt or a cut. I mean, that was it, standard rules. But he needs a 3 knockdown rule. If this guy gets clocked a few times, could be a long season for the Thunder, right? Oklahoma City. That's a tough place too. I mean, the NBA has become kind of universal, so it doesn't matter. You could be like a national figure while playing for a schmanky team in a so-called big mega market.
City, yeah.
But Oklahoma City might be the one place where you literally are jettisoned from the face of the planet here.
Sacramento. I think Oklahoma City.
Yeah, the Kings too. I mean, they don't exactly.
Even Indiana, they love basketball so much that it sort of matters. And like Utah, again, basketball has been good for a long time, and people ski there.
Yeah.
But Sacramento and Oklahoma City, there's literally nothing. Like there's really
0. Yeah.
Like even Cleveland's close to New York, I guess, middle of America, Cleveland. But
plus, LeBron played there, so it makes it like a viable destination, I guess.
Sacramento and Oklahoma City. That's like, what the fuck?
The teams that these 3 guys expected to, be overrated completely. The Suns, 2 of them have the Suns, and one of them has the Bucks. Mike Vaccaro has the Bucks. That's a team that's going to be a big disappointment this year.
The problem is, and I'm not doing that well. We didn't get him, so I'm going to hate on him because I think for 1 year, Damian Lillard, with what the Heat have, would have been perfect. After that year, I was been scared to death of what the fuck he was going to be. And that's why a lot of people were like, look, I don't know if you give the farm for Damian Lillard because he's 33, 34, and he's been injured the last 2 years. The Heat have a lot of things, so he could overcome that. The Bucks don't. The Bucks got old really fast. And they don't have, the Heat had a bunch of young guys paired with Butler that grew up. Like the Bucks don't have that. It's fucking Lopez who's like 64. It's Middleton who's like in his late 50s. Like it's a bunch of Bobby Portis is old as hell. Like it's a bunch of old guys that got.
Is he ever happy, Bobby Portis?
Oh, he's bitter all the time. That
Oh, my
series, they looked like they got old in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
So the two of them are enough to win a title.
But plus, they lost to the Heat.
And they did
Which
lose.
is pretty incredible. I mean, think about that. They have the home court advantage. They had everybody pretty much. I guess Antetokounmpo was banged up a little bit in that series and missed what 1 or 2 games.
Missed one game.
One game, yeah. So and maybe he wasn't 100%. That's possible. But all that being said, I mean, yes, they did add in a significant player in Damian Lillard. But as you say, Lubie, I mean, an injury now. I mean, when you have even less, a lower number of stars to count on,
Yep.
Which they're now down essentially to 2. You could throw Middleton in. He was out a lot of last season, but
Yep.
I don't know that he's a superstar. He's a good player to have as a supporting cast member for sure. But if you're depleted of all of the depth in behind that, and one of these guys goes down for a significant portion of the season, you're fucked.
Well, Aiden brings up a good point. I keep forgetting this. I don't know if the Giannis traveling rules will apply to Dame now that he's on the Bucks. So maybe that'll save him.
That could be, yeah. The 7-step approach.
7 steps.
How does Antetokounmpo do that? He takes off from the baseline at the other end of the court, and without a dribble, dunks. And the refs are like, that looked pretty good to me. No problem. All right, this is great. We have OJ McDuffie coming up here, and we're going to get right to him. We want to get into some stuff about the National Football League. The Vikings pulled off the upset last night. And the Vikings off to a horrible start this season. What were they? Were they 1-5 going into this game? Something like that?
They were 2-4 yesterday.
2-4. Okay. Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football especially has been an embarrassment.
Yep.
And he, distinguished himself very well last night. Threw for like 380 yards. He looked great in the ball game. They were missing their top receiver, and yet managed to still establish a start. This Jordan Addison had an unbelievable game.
Yep.
And the 49ers, after looking like, there it is again, right? Not for long. The old Jerry Glanville thing. 49ers, well, they're far away the best team in the league, and now they've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, and Purdy looks
to teams that weren't very good. So once again, you have the oddity of the National Football League. Just when you start to believe something is real, it turns out to be pure fantasy. All right, OJ McDuffie, one of our favorites, going to join us here in just a few minutes on the program. Stick with us. We're coming back with more here on today's edition of the Defo Show. Shoot the puck! Shoot the puck! All 32 teams. Wow, frozen frenzy for Jim.
I guess they're releasing some kind of a red zone, so they want to showcase as much action as possible.
Okay.
That's what Sarni said. They're doing their version of a red zone, I guess.
This is why a must-read every day is the Sarni Scrolls, man.
So he's like, it's in the scrolls. I'm like, okay, sir.
Find the scrolls. Seek them out. There is truth buried in there.
100%.
All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:30.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Count on calling OJ McDuffie, anything related to football or social issues. He's always brilliant on this. And we welcome him to the show here to help us celebrate OJ McDuffie. Now, how many UM Penn State games? Were you ever involved in a UM Penn State game? Were you?
2. We lost both of them.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yeah, we lost both. We lost here. We lost, in this big game, beginning of the year, UM could have made that a night game, right? They could have made it a night game. It's early September. But instead they made it a noon game. We're coming from Pennsylvania here, and then over the loudspeaker they said, today's temperature is 94 degrees. I think we lost.
Oh, man.
We lost.
I think the game was over at that point right there. We knew it was over. We almost died, man. We probably had a whole team, the whole plane cramped up on the way home.
Yeah. The Orange Bowl, too, was like walking on hot coals, was it not?
It was so hot. And it was the first game we decided we're going to wear. You know what? We're going to wear full jerseys. Penn State's known for those cutoff jerseys. So this was the first game we decided, you know what? We're going to go out in these full jerseys. They button at the bottom, like baby clothes, you know what I mean? Well, everybody was cutting that off. Everybody cut all the uniform back off, man. I was back to my half shirt. The hell with that, man. This is not going to work. This is not going to work.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Always great to be with you here. And this is a real distinction for the program that we have this man not only on the show, but in full view on video here on our stream. We love this guy. He always makes you feel good whenever he's around and always has something positive to say. We welcome to the program the great OJ McDuffie, former Dolphin star and, of course, a Penn State star. And I guess, wow. We might need the 3 knockdown rule after last weekend, OJ. It wasn't the most pleasant of circumstances for you. What was that 0 for 15 on third down? Juice, what's up with Franklin in big games?
Yeah, 1 in 16.
Yes, on the touchdown. That was the only first down conversion on third.
Yeah. And it really is. Always have our number. Franklin's on the hot seat with this. What's and as much as I love Joe Paterno, to beat Ohio State either. Nobody's been able to beat Ohio State since we've been there.
Yeah.
So it's been it's a ride for us when it came. I mean, I saw about just Penn State in general. We lose a recruiting battle, especially in the state. We lose Marvin Harrison Jr., who comes to Philly and goes right past Penn State, goes to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Quarterback did the same thing, who we saw was effective against us as well. We just can't compete with some of those guys. So are we just expecting too much from Penn State? And I think a lot of us have to look in the mirror and see if we are. We are expecting too much. Who knows, man? Ohio State. Then we got USC and UCLA, which I'm not too worried about UCLA as much. But, the teams from the West that are joining the Big, it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out.
All right. Well, I mean, it was a tough one because all of the wise guys, all of our degenerate gambling friends, they loved Penn State in this game. And, eventually you'll find it surprising any number of analysts' opinion about the ball game, trying to figure out which way to go. I hate Ohio State with a passion. There's just something about them that I've always despised. And, not being a big Penn State fan after the thumpings that you guys put on Syracuse when I was there, not as a player, and it was an embarrassment. Yeah, well, I mean, that was a long time ago. Ben Schwartzwalder was unaware that you could throw the ball. I think Paterno probably.
McPherson was our guy, right?
Yeah, those were some ugly beatings, but I would think Franklin. I mean, his record is not good. What is he, like 1-10 against top 10 teams, and he lost like.
Wait a minute,
is
this a Bass Franklin show? Is that what we're doing today?
No. I'm just curious because you are more tied into this than anybody we know, and we don't know enough about it to say what the people might be feeling about them. I mean, you hate to just speculate about what's in the press, but no, I mean,
right,
statistically, it's just not a favorable number that he posts in these spots.
Yeah, you're right. I think we're 2-18 or 2-17 versus. It is bad.
Yeah,
like I say. And that's what you're measured by in this case. She's a head man. The big games. What are you doing in big games? We Temple all the time. We beat Maryland all the time. We beat Syracuse all the time. We play them. It's like, what do you do against the big teams? And that's the ones we all gear up for this last game. This is our year to get Ohio State. They have a young quarterback. They've had last decade plus. They've had the C. Strouds and those guys, and they've been kicking our butts. So this year we catch a young quarterback. Our defense is the best it's ever been, and we still couldn't get it done. Is our biggest. We got true sophomore quarterback, true sophomore running backs, transfer portal wide receivers. We just don't have that mix on offense that we explosive enough to beat teams like that. And so when you team that has one guy beat us last weekend. It was Maserati, as they called him all game.
Yeah.
But that's the difference maker. Have a maker on our team right now.
Real professional wide receiver. Very much like you. He could do just about everything. Not,
He's
you know.
How these guys so much bigger, stronger, fat, bro.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, though. And he will make the tough catch. I mean, while you're looking for the spectacular play out of this guy, I mean, he'll go and make that 6-yard catch that you need for a first down in traffic, and go to the ground, and make up for an even lousy throw here and there, and keep the team and keep the chains rolling. All right, the Dolphin game Sunday night. I don't know to be overwhelmingly dissatisfied with that performance. They were in there with the Eagles, who were coming off that loss to the Jets, so a little bit of a wake up call there. They were right there toe to toe, and with an offensive line. Did you get a call to maybe come in there and throw a couple of blanks in that game? Because that offensive line, which was already the big subject before the season, how suspect was the Dolphins' offensive line. It was down to guys that I never heard of before.
Yeah, it was we got to beat, and that's what happened to the team. Start off the game, obviously, out Tehran, which always is a problem. Then when you lose Isaiah Wynn, that's not good. Kendall Lamb has been playing in Teron Armstead's place. A bit of a tough. It's probably one of the best in the league, and when you don't have your studs out there, it can be a problem, and it was a problem for us getting going. Couldn't get the run game going. We needed to. A little bit in half. I keep abandoning it. A little game. So to toe with these guys. Playing, a heck of a game, and when we needed to. Defense, I thought, had a really good game until it got a game. But then again, when you're on the field for almost 12 minutes longer than the team, I could only imagine what they were going through at that point too. So, and then there are other factors, obviously, that people are talking about. But hey, bottom line is this: it was a big game with Franklin and a big game. This is another opportunity for we come up short. Buffalo game, we came up short. This game, we come up short against a big team. But this was an NFC team match. We still leave. We still leave second in the AFC. So it wasn't. As a matter of fact, I heard this is what I heard. I could have played Sunday night, but the bigger picture is, coming up in November, put those guys out there and possibly get a setback. So it's as frustrating as it was. You want to see our team play games, which I call a big game, because watching half the NFL kindergarten all these people and then there, and you don't perform. We I think for the Miami Dolphins.
Well, and I get it. They are the record this year. And a lot of it's not all their fault. The Chargers were supposed to be good. So when you throw a Chargers in there that make that are 2 and whatever the hell now, it makes their competition is like 4 and 30, whatever the hell stupid number it is. They've only beaten the bad teams. I get it. But look, first of all, there's something to be said for that. The Bills are struggling with the bad teams. The Niners are struggling with the bad teams. So at least they're putting it on the bad teams, right? To me, that's a step in the right direction for the Dolphins. Second, both games they played the good teams. They were missing their center, who, by the way, and I was trying to tell Philly fans this, is rated the number 3 center in the goddamn league. Okay, so as we know, if Jason Kelsey's not on the Eagles, what the hell is their offensive line? Don't tell me their offensive line is doing the tush push like that without fucking Jason Kelsey. Okay, right. To me, it's a joke. I get it. You guys don't make excuses. Well, we do. I make excuses because when you're missing 7, to me 8, and I love Mostert. We have test line every week. A. Shane is a whole different goddamn level than Mostert. When that guy, he would have taken 3 of those balls to the house in that game that Mostert got dragged down on he goes from catch to full speed as well as anyone I've ever seen. Okay. So you're missing pretty much 7 starting level players versus a team that almost won the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. You want to make excuses? And you were playing the refs because they didn't have 1 penalty, a whole game. You don't have to. I'll go there. A whole game, they don't have 1 penalty. One, but Lombardi didn't go a whole game without one penalty. Like, you have all that against you on the road. To me, the fact that they had a chance to tie the game with 11 minutes left, there's something to be said for that. Plus, they're going to be getting everyone back. So I know you don't do moral victories, Juice, being an NFL all-time great, college great, high school great. But come on, I mean, to me, to leave that game, if you're the Dolphins, I wouldn't be hanging my head low. Like, they were at a negative, a massive negative from jump.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, so every team's going through some things and going through some injuries. And I know that the team didn't make any excuses. Honestly, the defense was absolutely atrocious, as we all know. Officially 0 penalties, Lubie. Listen to me. I mean, they're so, when we did it, they found a way to also something that we were doing as well. So it was messing with the penalty call. Those or missed calls were big.
Big.
The fourth got the face mask on said Wilson. That's a big one that they didn't call. I saw, you saw David Long shoot the gap and get hogtied on a run and end up making it shorter and easy push, tush push at the end. And then you saw even Mostert, Tua made a bad throw. Let's be clear about that. That was a terrible throw. But Mostert trying back there, he gets beat up trying to get back to the football.
Got tackled.
And Clay gets so he gets the interception. So there are a lot of things. And then, me being from Penn State, I got a lot of. They say, "Oh, we played the best game ever." Man, bullshit. You know what I mean? Don't give me that. I don't care what you guys think about your team, man. But you guys got to see that. Obviously, when it's going in your favor, you're not even saying we're getting some homer calls. They don't think that. Only the team that's getting abused feels like they're getting abused. That was us.
I love my teams, but if I see a 0 in the penalty column, I'm going, yeah, we got a lot of help.
Right, exactly right. I think it's been like 25 games in like the last, I don't know the stat, maybe years where there were 0 penalties in the whole league, whatever it might have been. That's impossible.
It did seem like it was a little unbalanced. I'll go along with that. Most of the people, Juice, though, came out of this game feeling like, all right, as you said, maybe even the Dolphins organization was sensing that there are more important things ahead. Naturally, you don't want to lose, but we saw San Francisco lose last night, the second time in a row when just 2 weeks ago, people were saying that they were a certainty to make the Super Bowl and that Brock Purdy was as good as any quarterback in the league. Even if he was only being asked to do marginal things that a lot of quarterbacks, even Jimmy Garoppolo, was successful with in the Shanahan system when they had their full complement of players. But the optimistic note was that, okay, no X-Man, he's coming back. Jalen Ramsey coming back. Now you have 2 outstanding corners on the field that jumps everybody, in terms of their responsibilities. It gets a lot of people off the hook so they can concentrate more heavily on what they're supposed to do on defense. You did put some pressure on the quarterback in this game, and so things are maybe healing up a little bit along the defensive front. They have some tough sledding at the end of the season, but they seem to be in a position where they might be able to even improve, off what they did in the early portion of the year against the teams that, as Lubie pointed out, I think were a combined 5-24 going into that game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, we got this coming up. They really do. McDaniel's does such a good job of looking at the big picture you're talking about. Big shout out to Brian Flores last night too with the Minnesota defense. Everybody wants to crap on Flo. He had a heck of a game plan against that 49er also. But you look we have New England. Then we go to Germany for Kansas City. Then we have a bye week. The biggest picture we have, obviously, in any locker room, though, is division, which is coming up, conference, which is coming up the next 2 weeks, and then so on and so forth. Weeks are coming up that we have to really. But I was like, when they were talking about it, wasn't. I say that now because of the conference and division, what it meant, especially once Buffalo lost today. Kind of left us kind of like, right? We could be, we win, we lose, okay, but big games or big fish are coming up. Big New England football make a long time. And so guys that come down here and give us a heck of a fight. And I think that plays a role in what we do offensively. When we're on the road and there's a lot of crowd noise, it's hard for us to time all our give me emotions and all that other stuff. So we really, everything like Manning in Indianapolis really needs to come through Miami. So we better make sure that we get everything coming through Miami in their division. So I think we're going to get healthy like we talked about. I think these guys could have played Sunday. I think X probably could have played. I think Connor might have been able to play. What happens if they get a setback and then we miss them for this week and the following week, bye week, and 2 more, so it makes sense to hold those guys out when we're sitting there at 5-1 at that point and 5-2 now.
Prior to last week, I probably, I would have figured that Belichick may retire after this year, and that the New England Patriots, I would have laid 40 points with the Dolphins against the Patriots. And then they go out there, and not only, they look good in controlling most of the action against the Buffalo Bills throughout the game, but then when they fall behind, they come back and stage, a miracle rally at the end of the game to pull it out. Belichick, it turns out, had secretly, unbeknownst to Adam Schefter and everybody else in the world, somehow signed a contract extension. Ending speculation that he was planning on getting out, because I don't think he wants out until he gets what would it be, victory 348 or whatever it is, because
that's what he's waiting. Right?
He's 28 away from Shula. He picked up 300 as regular season victories, and then you tack on the postseason. You have a longer way to go. But you think he stays in the league till he's 90? Because his one mission in life is to have one more win than Don Shula. I don't think those two guys really had much fondness for each other.
No, they are friends again. That's for sure. I think that he definitely stays until that record's broken. And we'll see if Robert Kraft keeps him that long. I'm sure Robert Kraft's in on it too. He said we got to have that. We've got these championships now. It's fun.
Yeah.
Build it all out. Probably go 1-16 for the rest until he gets it, and they'll be all right with that.
What happened there? Most people are looking at, and it's a cliche in sports that you hear sometimes when a guy has a dual role, that so-and-so, the coach, is being let down by the same guy who's also the general manager. That Belichick is actually, his own worst enemy, and that's really odd, because forever I thought Belichick's shrewdness with regard to judging players' shelf life and getting rid of guys that appear to have a couple of more years left in the league at a very high level, and he would replace them with unknowns, and then that guy would blossom. But he seemed to have an uncanny feeling for the timing of when to keep a guy on the roster and when to let somebody go. And then did he just lose that acumen all of a sudden? Because most people's assessment of the Patriots coming into this week would have been that they just don't have any talent on that team.
They lost Tom Brady. I mean, honestly, you look at, I talked about this the other day, the New England Patriots, and what made some of those guys so good was Tom Brady. But you look at the score. I remember watching some of our games when I was retired. I looked up and knew nothing already. They're up 10-0 already. Then they're 14-0 already at that point, because now the other team is playing catch up over.
Yep.
New England was never. I don't know how many it was, but I don't know what percentage it was resulting in a touchdown. All that. Like, it was like how they got it done. So when you've got a team, and they talk about some of these that were no defensive side, but the offensive side always has some step off or somebody like that. Even record, but they had a Tom Brady all the time. He's the one that I'm going. So when the defense is able to pin the ears back, doing, of course, got a hell of a defensive mind. I mean, that makes it a lot easier for those guys. But they have a bunch of guys that went out there and played off. It's amazing style, flow style. But some of these kids nowadays can't handle that type of style, and go out there and handle those. But today's kids can't do it like that. Bill Belichick's probably dealing with some new school kids, with an old school attitude, and it's probably not working as well as it would have back in the day.
Oh, he's had that same face on throughout most of the season that you see from Donald Trump in his various courtroom appearances. Where the guy's going, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Yeah, right.
I'm Bill Belichick, for God's sake. We're losing 33-0 back-to-back weeks. It seemed almost inconceivable at that point. One thing about the Dolphins, too, that you notice, it didn't happen this week because I think they had a couple of 3-and-outs to start the ball game against Philadelphia. Highly uncharacteristic, but to me, this is also the mark of good coaching. Where those scripted opening drives, the Dolphins have an unbelievable knack for putting together a scoring drive on their first possession, or had up
Yeah.
until this week.
Right. Again, it really boils down to that execution comes down to being able to run our cheat motion, run our shifts. We had a lot of times again, which is unbelievable to me because I know we had a lot of that last.
How it happen before the game even starts? That you're going to delay a game penalty.
Right, exactly.
How much can you delay the game? What, the bus is late? I thought they were throwing a flag. How could the clock run out on that play?
Yeah, brutal from the beginning. Coach took all of it for that, which he does a lot of times on situations like that. But that's another thing I talk about with the road. When you strip the first ones, a lot of that stuff is a perfect condition. And, especially when you're at home. When you get there and you get that, you can't get everybody in the right position right away. Play. Look, Friday, Defo and Lubie. Friday, we script all those plays. That first play, we know exactly what it is. No matter what, we know exactly. It could change. We get turned down the 3-yard line, and we might, that changes. But in the middle of the field, it's going to be pretty much that play. So everything should have been stellar at that point. And play number 2, way. It's amazing. It's funny because play number 1 always seems to be Waddle, trying to get Waddle involved. One clock a little bit, and then work Tyreek in. They do that, and then sometimes they kind of forget about Waddle, favorite players on the team. Obviously, Tyreek is the guy on any team. But if they can spread that wealth a bit more, it'd be more efficient as a better team.
Yes.
All right, a couple of more things, and we have the great OJ McDuffie with us. It's always a pleasure, my friend, and looking good too, kid. And what aren't you doing? You're on everything. I turn on the TV, there you are on CBS. I turn on the radio. I'm in the car, trying to get a little feel for the ball game before it starts. You're on a pregame show, postgame show, halftime. There's OJ McDuffie. So congratulations on all the stuff that you're doing. Do you speak McDaniel, or are you more likely to give a speech in Hebrew? You're around a team all the time. And McDaniel seems like a great guy. Seems like somebody that you would want to get to know. Seems like somebody that you would want to play for. Lubie's criticism, occasionally goes Brandon Staley and maybe, takes a few too many shots, abdicating field goals and putting points on the board for, what turn out sometimes to be desperate 4th down tries. And that can come back and snake bite you, that strategy. Late game adjustments. He tends to maybe go away from the run when it's working.
He can run
we've seen that as maybe a little bit of an.
Which he did in this game because they were running it well in the second half, and he stopped fucking running the ball.
Yeah, but how do you rate him overall? What's your thought about him? And do you understand his post-game press conferences?
Well, you know what? That's a great question right there. I coach Mike McDaniel. I really do. I love what he's brought, the energy. I love how he's gotten our QB1 playing at a high level right now. And I think that the players love him. I think that's the most important. When it comes to those post-game pressers, I let Seth left for everything he's saying, and then whatever Seth says, then I.
So you get a translation.
We'll,
good.
Yeah, we'll listen to the presser. Seth will dissect it for us, and then we'll talk about it. So right afterwards, I have a tough time being able to dissect stuff and listen to some of it. But it's great, though. He gives us so much. His last week's presser was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Coaches give you 15 minutes after a long
certainly not Belichick.
What, right?
Yeah, after a loss.
Right. Belichick will give you opinions, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
So, last question, It's been fun. Really great to us. Obviously that makes it a lot more fun for us. I know that our results are coming around. 5-2. We lost 2 good teams. Having him in the locker room, I think the rest, you imagine what from Flores to in terms of like personalities, it's probably been a day for those guys. And it seems like they are. And Mike's smart about side because that'll buy him, some losses. If he loses a couple, got these guys in the bag.
Seems like a wonderful guy, and obviously very thoughtful, and his relationship with the press, is also kind of refreshing compared to some of the things that you see from these coaches that are always trying to keep everybody at bay, and they think every question is ridiculous. I mean, he's a long way from being Nick Saban under these circumstances, which makes our jobs much more enjoyable, and I think it helps the fans out too to try and understand what's going on with the team. All right, you know that we always condemn contrived debates, OJ. And we don't like to engage in this sort of, really ugly and useless hypothetical sports talk. But this one we brought up this week as it came up. I believe it might have first been brought to the stage on the Stephen A. Smith show or one of these pregame shows, possibly, about Tyreek Hill. Where does he rank all time among receivers? So nobody better, no better authority on this than you, OJ McDuffie, having played this position at the highest of levels. I don't know that I can put him there. I mean, with the all-time gods of wide receivership. You mentioned Randy Moss. I mean, you're talking, obviously, Jerry Rice is a name that pops up right away. Going old school. I mean, we've seen so many greats. Lance Allworth, Rensel. I mean, going way back into the past. So many great receivers. I mean, is Tyreek Hill worthy of being mentioned, say, in the top 5 all time, or is he just a great version of what you really want in a modern day receiver?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, that's the biggest point. You talk about Lance Allworth. There wasn't anything like this time he was there, right?
Yeah.
And guys, obviously, he got him a lot, but he was also a great year. So longevity and greatness that does it for him. Randy Moss just whenever he was playing against.
Yeah, I mean, do you think like Paul Warfield and Tyreek Hill? I mean, in the same kind of context.
Right, and Will Chamberlain in basketball, guys like that are playing against. I feel you. Tyreek can be that guy. It takes that. He's good, Defo and Lubie. He's good at what he does because one, he works at it. It doesn't happen by accident for this guy.
Plays hard.
He does. And people were talking about IVs the other day. He takes IVs because he runs more than any miles every single game. Yeah, he's running miles every game. The crowd shape. Go watch him 100 miles an hour all the time. Yeah. But I think it would hard to put him in 5. He's hitting there. It's the way he plays the game, his speed, his fists, and his ability to catch balls in the middle and obviously beat people deep. On the a very unique player in Miami that we, that if we keep him for 4 or 5 more, you will definitely 1,000% be within that top. That's
all right, Juice, you've been very
generous. That's all I got for you, man. I'm not putting him there yet, but that's that's all.
I don't know that I could either. Yeah, I mean,
I'm just glad we have him on our team.
Yep.
He's on our team.
We said this forever, and I'm sure you would agree that if you're not going to be like the best team in the league, at least be exciting. And they certainly added an element of excitement there. And it's kind of like back in the day, I guess, we've talked about this where, and you were, one of these guys too, that you were looking forward to any punt or kickoff return because you had an electrifying guy there that could make something exciting happen, every time. Even if, 3 out of 4 times you ended up getting smacked for a 1-yard loss on a return, it was just great to see some of these return men. We had a long run of them at University of Miami. And, every time the ball was in the air, you're thinking, wow, this guy's going to take it to the house. And that's kind of how you feel about Tyreek Hill, which is, very exciting for the fans.
Guys, right? I mean, we've got some.
Yeah, Waddle too, I guess. Yeah.
You return guys. I thought,
Barrios is great too, yeah.
Something special, man. I love that pickup in the all. Yep. Waddle, Mostert, you talking about Achane? Achane he was a surprise home run. Those are things I'm talking about. Achane has a couple more weeks, being on IR, probably after this is fine. So we've got that season always the toughest, and I think that the home streak, it's amazing. Every time I think they're gone because they spoiled us.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone. You're gone. That's
and it was great too, Juice. We got through a half hour without asking the question: is Tua a franchise quarterback? So, so you didn't have to deal with that on today's show. Yeah. Yes, and what was great. I keep going back. I always have visions of that shot they have of McDaniel when he's on the private jet being flown in for his introductory press conference, and he's on the phone with Tua, and he's saying things that nobody was saying. You're thinking, okay, this is coach speak. New guy gets a job. He's got to act like he believes in the quarterback, but he really. You go back and you listen to what he was saying. He really has acted on that, and kind of made progress with Tua, much like he was anticipating that he was there to make this guy the best quarterback he could be, and he really believed in him. And the guy's right now, I mean, among the leading candidates for MVP. Even after this last performance, which wasn't horrible, but wasn't necessarily as good as we've seen from him this season. Juice, always a pleasure, man. So where can we catch you now? You're on what? You're on 940 and Big 105. Okay.
Podcast. We got.
I saw that one with the X-Men. Yeah.
We dropped mail today. Get Friday, Saturday morning. It's just been fun trying to stay involved with the the biggest home.
Yes, we love that about you.
I get to be the biggest homer.
No, it's good, and you're probably only like 6 jobs behind Steve Goldie Goldstein at this point.
That's
with all that you're doing. So. Yeah. I have, yeah. Yeah. He'll fire right back at you, yeah.
Right.
Incredible. Yeah, but you know what's good, though? If you're a hockey announcer, you can butcher the names and nobody would know. So, who knows what's happening with that? All right, OJ McDuffie, ladies and gentlemen. That was a lot of fun, Lubie. All right, we'll continue here on the Defo Show. So, yeah, I would agree with most of the talk that's out there about no reason to panic. I still think you would have to consider that the Dolphins actually have an upside to the remainder of the season. Although when you were going over that Marquis Desant stuff about the last 4 games yesterday, Lubie, they will have to be, sort of peaking and in good physical shape.
Yes.
If they're going to survive, that's a real gauntlet that they're going to run through there. It's almost like getting on the school bus as an incoming member of the FAMU band. And why were they slapping the shit out of some big fat tuba player? Can you figure that out, Lubie? I mean, what was the point of that? Discipline?
I've never been a hazing fan, so I don't know. I never got it.
I never lied. We used to eat like a goldfish. I mean, like a live goldfish. That was the big thing.
That's why I didn't do a fraternity. I wasn't even for one semester going to let other dudes tell me what the fuck to do. Yeah, especially crazy shit. It was like, no, I'm okay. I'll find my own friends. You're not going to tell me to drink a keg of beer in one night and not go to the bathroom or do.
Yeah, I was never into that. I mean, what kind of bullshit was all of that? That stuff for like Niedermeyer and Animal House.
It just never was
to have people go through fraternity initiation. Yeah,
no,
I pledged 0 fraternities when I was in school, but I was always like sort of an independent schmink and wanting to do my own thing. And whether or not that was overwhelmingly beneficial in the long run, wouldn't it be nice to have a bunch of rich fraternity brothers saying, you know what, we're starting a new media company. That'd be great. You need a 72-year-old Defo and an aspiring Lubie to spearhead our operation.
There you go.
Which is coming. Any progress on the possible Monday debut of the Tony Bruno radio? They're debuting, and we're still sort of.
I don't know. I hope they're debuting. They haven't even done their tests yet, and they need to do tests as well as we need to do tests. Hopefully, today we can do some tests, and if we can do that, maybe. Okay. I don't know.
Now, what is Big Mama Radio? Is that some known commodity, or is that
Yeah, Big Mama. I guess he was a FMD jock for years on the Southwest Florida.
Okay.
The dude, Jason something. And he said, screw FM. I want to start my own thing. So he started his own digital radio network and it's doing really well.
Okay.
So he and Bruno have partnered because he wanted to get into the sports talk side of things.
Very nice.
And it's Bruno starting his own network on the under the umbrella of the Big Mama, who's already doing really well on the music side of things.
All right, and so you would have to go through. Andy's asking, is it actually on a radio? But you can pop all this stuff up on your radio by just plugging in the link, right? Isn't that
Yes.
the deal?
So
I mean,
first of
even
all,
this show, right? You can get on the radio.
most phones Bluetooth, and most cars. My car was a 2017 and it Bluetooth. So I think from
Yes.
like 2015, 16 on, your car accepts Bluetooth, and your phone, every phone has been doing Bluetooth for like a decade.
Okay, so you can pop this up on your phone while you're in the car.
Yes, you can listen in the radio. Look, reality is the next batch of cars aren't going to have AM at all. Like
No.
it wouldn't even exist. So you would have to do the phone regardless of whether we were in a radio studio or at our home. That's the new wave. That's
The business is evolving in a direction that would be largely favorable for people like
for
us.
Yes.
The problem is to live long enough to be able to capitalize on it. Isn't that always the way, Lubie? That's the problem with people that are, just a little bit ahead of their time. And, that you may run out of time, as may be the case later on tonight. What do you think? Phillies and Zona. Can this 50-1 shot stay alive, Lubie? And what would you do? When you have to bet, this would be, and I know I don't mean to characterize this. Obviously, there is a lot of sensitivity about using, our usual Jewish references here. But is that a Jewish thing to immediately be inclined to hedge, Lubie? Is that just part of my Jewish heritage?
I already want to hedge it. Like you have to get to the final round. You can't hedge before the final round because then you're double hedging.
But what about this game 7? I mean, you're either sitting on the cusp. I'm just talking about hedging a bet off tonight. If you were in this position where you had this 50-1, let's say you had 100 at 50-1, so you're going to win $5,000 if Arizona wins the World Series. Now, I would think you would hedge off in the series itself, right? Because Zona, I'm going to presume, would be an underdog to the Texas Rangers, who hit the ball so hard.
Series that you started a 50-1 at the beginning of the playoffs. Yes, there you hedge. I don't know if I'm hedging now because then you're hedging.
But wouldn't it be if you just wanted to get your money out of it, or maybe like win a marginal amount of money for being right about Arizona up to this point? You would have to lay 155 to win 100. So if you had 100, that was potentially going to turn into 5,000. Would it be worth it to go ahead and sacrifice, say, just 155 of that potential 5,000 to get your money back? So after having this ride where you got to the point, the brink of maybe having a giant score, you didn't end up losing money to the proposition. In other words, you're still going to make whatever you don't hedge off in the series itself. You're going to make about $4,000 if Arizona wins this thing anyway.
Yes, but that's
my. But would you want to lose the 100, even though you were right up until this point?
It's fine. I guess the 100 because if Philadelphia wins, then you get the 100 and you're even, Steven. Fine. But the problem is, if Arizona wins, you've now lost that 100, and then you still have to hedge the next series.
Okay, so maybe you're hedging off 300 or something.
Yeah, I agree with you. Andy, the one, when you brought this up at the beginning of the series, said no, like you're not double hedging. You'll hedge if they get to the World Series.
But this would be a viable point, right? I mean, there's going to be vast frustration. If you have a 50-1 shot, he gets beat at the wire like this. Now, naturally, you're a long way from home because you still have to win a best-of-7 series against a team that had gotten so hot in the postseason. And then think about what they just did. The Astros go into Texas and Arlington, and they sweep the 3 games there. Yes. And on top of that, they probably even won the fight. I think that, I would have given them the decision. Narrow, 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4 in the fight, which I thought was ridiculous. That was sparked by Adalis Garcia assuming that Abreu was throwing at him for his showboating bullshit when he hit a home run earlier in the ball game that they were eventually going to lose. That's the other part of that.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know, and, as we said, you've become more of a fan of these demonstrations. I don't know. I mean, it seems goofy, doesn't it? But people are so competitive that, and this is the highest level of having a competitive nature that, I'm not sure that, it's really that far out of bounds. I never was a fan of throwing at anybody under any circumstances. It's just too dangerous.
We've talked about that. I think baseball's weird about that shit. Like, well, you did well and you want to celebrate it, so I'm going to punish you. No?
I mean, throwing a rock at 100 miles an hour into some guy's rib cage, I don't. Oh, yeah, well, he hit him in the body there. He didn't go for the head. Okay. It's just as disgusting to me as, I don't care. look, pitchers used to be notorious. Bob Gibson, of course, one of those guys that, he would throw one right under your chin deliberately. Not even, late in the game. I mean, when the leadoff hitter came up to the plate.
And
Gibson would just brush him back and let him know that, hey, guess what, guys? I do throw high fastballs inside.
see, I don't mind trying to own the plate because here's the deal. If they take the inside away from you all game as a pitcher, that fucks you. That's a different thing. That's part of the game. Like, you want to make sure, like Barry Bonds would stand on the fucking plate, and I would have hit him in the fucking head. Like,
well, you couldn't miss the head.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
especially when it became the size of a pumpkin.
So, like, that's the thing is, no, you can't have them overtake the plate because then now you lose half the plate. So, no, that's different. He wasn't trying to hit them. He was trying to say, look, you want to stand there, the ball might hit you.
And then he would drop that wicked deuce over the outside corner, and you're like, my God, that thing dropped out of the sky. And there was no way, to stand up to that. Plus, most right-handed hitters get really tied up badly on inside high heat.
Well, to me, it's like a football. Like if a guy's going to be overly aggressive on the outside defensively, all right. Then if my guy gets by you, I'm throwing a fucking 9 route, and we're going to torch you. Like,
yes.
You got to make same thing with the reason why I want Jordan Travis to run more. If you're a quarterback who's become a good passer but can run, you got to mix in the run to keep the defense honest. Because then now if they have to come up, and now you can throw it over the top. Like, I'm not mad at a pitcher trying to own the plate. It's when a guy does well and you're like, well, I'm going to peg him in the back. Like, no, just get him out. Get him out. Like, they're not equivalent. Giving a guy a kidney fucking issue is not the same thing as him hitting a home run. That's his job as the home run.
And so what? So strike him out next time.
Yeah.
That would be the way to go. You don't want to, A, you're just putting him on base anyway, and B, you're exacerbating the situation to the point where it probably will lead to some ugliness later on, because after you hit that guy, then the other guy has to come out there and throw it the next batter. He's going to throw it, Bryce Harper or whatever, so, it gets up. Well, that was a different series, but, it gets into some, just continuing, perpetuating ugliness, which in the end literally accomplishes nothing except that somebody could be badly hurt. Right? Exactly. Holy Tony Conigliere. What are we talking about here? You hit a guy in the head. We've seen it. Look, Stanton's never been told. I guess, did he have that big season after being hit in the head?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So
he hasn't had that injury issue since. He's hurt everywhere else every year.
He just sucks, yeah. Okay. It's like, is he seeing triple or what the hell?
No. He had the 59.
He's at the Mendoza line there, just buried right around 200. All right, so we're going to come back with more. We'll be with you for a while longer here on the Defo Show. Later on today, Mike Mayo and Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm involved in something else this afternoon, so can't make the Mayo Lunchbox Show, but it doesn't mean that you should not be there.
I will.
And you're at Deck 84 today, which is a great place. Yeah, Bert Rappaport Restaurant. Really like that place. And they have a wide variety of very, very tasty things. And for high-end stuff, it's an extremely reasonable price.
Nice prices. Yeah. And they do a lot of lunch specials, happy hour. Like, Rappaport wants to cater to people who like elevated food and also cater to everyone. Like, he wants everyone to have a shot to eat some nice food and have nice service.
I'm a big fan of the place because I had a little deal working with a guy that was kind of paying me, sort of commission checks for some stuff that I was doing for him. And we always used to meet there for the check exchange, Deck 84. So it was always good. We would get there before they actually were fully open. But there's nothing like sucking down a cocktail there on the water at about 11:30 while the bartender is saying, the stools are still on the bar and you're picking up a couple of dimes. That was always a lot of fun. But no, great place. The last time we were there, it was terrific.
Yes.
And we had a wide variety of things and some of the best stuff that we've had, which is saying a lot because all of these places on the circuit have been absolutely fabulous. It's always great walking in there for that kind of treatment. I was a little envious. I wanted to eat some of that meatloaf through the screen yesterday.
It was really good, man. They do such a good job at shenanigans for a sport.
Do you think it should be more of a tomato-based kind of thing or a brown gravy with meatloaf?
See, what I was going to say, and that's what I was going to ask you guys, because
it's widely different. Great disparity.
I always did meatloaf, gravy, and then you put ketchup on top of it. And
on top of gravy? Oh, God.
I always saw that. For some reason with meatloaf that works. And I was going to ask you guys, do you guys do that? Because my family did that. And I've always seen that. Like when I'll go to like a deli or a diner, you'll see they have that like ketchup like
Yeah.
layer on top, but they will
Right,
have
right.
two. So that's why I was
I like it that way more than the brown gravy.
I like both.
You know, and I've been to places where they smother the meatloaf in brown gravy, and you know, not necessarily my favorite. My mother made a great meatloaf, and it was largely you know, tomato based.
Nice.
So I've always been a big fan of that. That's what it looked like there at Shenanigans. No,
It's a little
Did he-
both. He did
oh, a
it the
little of both. Okay.
way- they have the gravy on top, and then I put ketchup on top.
Oh, Jesus. Why don't you throw some mayonnaise in there and maybe some honey mustard while you're in? Just a doppel of you know, Chinese mustard. That would do it. House mustard only. Is that not the biggest disparity in the culinary world, though? I can't get Mayo to agree with me on this, but because he naturally goes, well, you're just complaining.
No, but he likes the house mustard. As
No,
well.
but I mean the house mustard versus the packaged mustard that you get, which is always thrown in the bag anytime you go to a Chinese restaurant. That stuff is absolutely worthless. It would be the last. Why don't you just pour sand on whatever it is that you're eating? I mean, that stuff's horrible. Tasteless. Nothing. No comparison whatsoever to what you would normally be expecting when you, you know, drop a couple of those noodles when they come to the table in Chinese mustard, and it goes right to your sinuses there. Wasabi. You're thinking, what's in that stuff? I mean, sometimes it's just overwhelming. You throw like a tiny drop into some fried rice, and you know, it all, you know, it tends to stick to one spot. So, you know, you're eating a fried rice, and it's like, yeah, this stuff's pretty good. And then all of a sudden, whoa! You're like the warden in Shawshank. You just put a gun under your chin and blew your brains out. It's great. But no bigger disparity, I don't think. I mean, the soy sauce in those packages is pretty lame, correct? The duck sauce, I don't think is so bad.
See, I don't mind the duck sauce. That's the thing I eat, and it tastes fine.
Yeah. And the Chinese mustard, though, is not even, you know, shouldn't be in the same category. Whoever makes those packages for the Chinese restaurants, I'm assuming it's probably one universal source. I mean, ought to be, you know, immediately put out of business for talk about representing a fraud. This is nothing like Chinese mustard. Nothing. All right. Anyway, Deck 84 later on today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox with Mike Lubitz. And I will be happy to be joining you guys again tomorrow at Casa Calabria, which is always fantastic. Frank Tallarico, and congratulations to Frank. 65 years, the anniversary of the Ocean Manor Hotel. I want to say Frank's been involved there for like, what, maybe 15?
I would say, well, because he hadn't just bought it when I did shows with you.
No, he had been there for like a little while.
Like 20 years.
Not a long time, but he had been there for a while.
We've been doing stuff with him for at least 13 years. So
yeah, 13 years, 14, maybe longer. Yeah,
maybe
going
15.
back all the way to the beginning. Yeah,
I would
probably
say
15 years. He might be working between 15 and 20.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, a big celebration, man. They had a wild party there. I wasn't able to get there, but I mean, it was going all night. I saw somebody that was in attendance, and they look, you know, pretty much like Diana Nyad. We saw yesterday on TV. I guess she was part of the release of some sea turtle that had been rescued in Key West in celebration of the 1-year anniversary. In fact, Jim Sarney sent me this article, but then I saw her. I mean, she is morphing into, literally, she looks like Chuck Wepner at this point. Like Chuck Wepner of today. It's crazy. I guess, you know, that this takes its toll on you, right? This long distance swimming or whatever that was. It doesn't even look like she's moving on that swim from Havana. How long did it take her to get here? Like a year and a half? I think Columbus crossed the Atlantic in less time. Incredible. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
What was all that, by the way, Libby? Chinese mustard and Diana Nyad. Is this going to work on a Bruno show? There, the people are probably going to wonder, what the fuck? It's 9:21. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
The world, I mean, if my point was ever going to be embellished and going to be proven true, the world has gotten me sugar now.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the program. Going to be a great day in sports. Thanks to OJ McDuffie for joining us here on the program. And you have that full slate of hockey. Is hockey of intrigue? Is it of interest to more than just the so-called, diehard aficionados, the cult that follows the NHL on a regular basis? I have to admit, as much as I enjoy it, and I love the postseason of NHL play. I think
Yes, the hockey playoffs are great. I don't know about the regular season.
I mean, you can get into, a sort of obtuse, circumstances, thinking, hey, why am I watching like Ottawa and Calgary in Game 6? Or the Kraken. Were a great story last year. The Seattle Kraken, second-year expansion franchise, that was making some noise. And then you see what it takes to actually, I mean, think about that bloodbath that was the Florida Panthers' path to the Stanley Cup Finals, only to get shellacked in the finals, essentially, and become somewhat of a forgotten commodity.
Yep.
As I mean, they played sensationally for 3 series, and as underdogs, heavy, substantial underdogs, managed to knock off an unbelievable series of teams. Right?
Yep.
That was good stuff. So and then you still are nowhere in terms of winning the championship in this age when it's all or nothing. Where if you're not a champion, you're a chump.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of credit given for being in second place or finishing second. In fact, that team is often more forgotten than teams that failed to qualify for the postseason altogether that were supposed to be good. But I think it's definitely the most. Was that not in evidence last year, Lubie, as we had the chance to watch both the NBA and the NHL playoffs all the way going the distance with local teams? Is that not the most impossible of professional trophies to win?
Oh, yeah. Hockey's
the Stanley Cup. Yeah.
I mean, every series is a friggin' war.
Bloodbath. I mean, just crazy, right? Who'd we knock off? We had the Bruins, knocked off the Maple Leafs, and then what?
The Hurricanes.
Carolina.
The 3 teams that were the best in all of hockey.
Only to run into the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who and have to face them as the road underdog in the series, while crippled by not just injuries to players, but literally guys that are going out there playing with a broken back.
Well, that's the thing is and yes, the Heat dealt with injuries, but they were fluky, especially heroes.
Yeah.
Like the Panthers, by the end of it, 8 guys had massive injuries.
It was incredible. It was like they had, unfortunately come up a little short on a payment to our good friend Vito there. And,
yes. Collarbones. Shit's a collarbone.
Don't worry, the ribs will heal. Really? You had to hit me there, Vito? I mean, come on. I would have, been better off if you just hit me on the chin. At least then I would have been seeing stars for a few minutes and, come back to being normal again. That would have been great. This lasting, lingering pain is not favorable development. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's early season NHL. I don't know, why do I do that, Lubie? I'm not inclined to watch a ton of early season NHL games, even though I've kind of dropped in on a couple of games here and there, trying to get a little bit of a feel for where the Panthers are at. So I watched some of their play, but marginal by comparison to the level of interest we had. And if people feel that it's not advantageous to make the postseason every year, Bruce Sherman, That'll do more to build interest in your team than virtually any other endeavor that you can undertake in trying to gain some kind of public recognition. And when you're constantly making moves that alienate the public, as evidenced by Jeffrey Loria, you are going to kind of be treading water in the same negative space seemingly forever, which you would think that, with regard to the Marlins and this Kim Eng departure. I mean, imagine being in the Marlin, season ticket sales office.
Oh, you're fucked.
Every year where they do something like this. And you're like, you're still trying to sell them on the fact that they weren't wrong about Heath Bell. What sections are available? Right away, I want to go to my bank and withdraw like $6,000 so I can get season tickets. I don't know. What would a pair of tickets cost for every Marlin game? 81 games, figure what? $30 a shot for a decent seat?
Yeah.
So we're talking 2,400.
2,500, $3,000. Yeah.
What would you go in imagine having just you're doing telephone solicitation. You're sitting there in a boiler room with a bunch of other people, and they're all, on the phone all the time. Hey, you attended a Marlin game last year, and you dropped off a little, voucher. You were trying to win that $50 voucher we were giving away. So we got your name and all of your information. So we're calling you to see if you want season tickets. I mean, how fast would you go to just a quick go fuck yourself and lose my number? I would rather work at the Department of Motor Vehicles. At least those people know they're getting paid well and don't care, right? Imagine you're working on commission in the Marlin season ticket office, sales office. Oh, my God.
No, they never built steam. Literally last year, they finally might have built steam, and they didn't keep the goddamn GM.
It's incredible, isn't it? They just take the air out of the balloon, it seems like, in some bizarre fashion. Look, could it possibly be that it turns out to be a shrewd move that Kim Eng was going to bury the team eventually and turn into Mike Tannenbaum overnight? Well, in today's society, I wouldn't rule it out, right? She literally became Mike Tannenbaum. All right, we have to run on that thought. An absolute dose of ridiculousness. We will join you later on, or at least Lubie and Mike Mayo will, on the Mayo Lunchbox. Deck 84, and that's in officially what? Deerfield? Delray Beach. Yeah, Delray Beach.
Looking forward.
Nice spot. You can go there by boat.
Yes.
That was very accommodating there. Great service and great food. So enjoy yourselves up there. I think that the thing I was infatuated with the last time we were there was, believe it or not, the cauliflower. Grilled cauliflower that they had.
Did a cauliflower thing. Yep.
Ooh.
It was nice.
Grilled. I mean, it was like the best I've ever had of that.
They had like a glaze,
particular dish. Yeah,
crumbles and stuff. Yeah, I don't think it was
really good stuff. Yeah, and imagine if I'm infatuated with the cauliflower, how good is the rest of the food?
Exactly.
All right, we'll also see you tomorrow. We'll have a little old school with Tony Segreto coming up tomorrow. Sure. I think Tony ended up 2-2 in his predictions. I thought he was going to go 0-4.
Well, did he pick Canes? The Canes did win. So
I think he had the Canes and the Eagles. What was his big surprise pick?
He's been anti-Dolphins for some reason. So he was right.
Have you noticed that he's turned on the local teams, Tony?
Except for the Canes. The Canes, the one that's the most fickle of all the teams, is the one. I guess he's on the board, or he's on a board of some kind.
The more I think about it, I mean, the most horrifying of coaching approaches I've ever witnessed from Mario Cristobal.
It's just dumb. I was talking about it with Pat Utter after, like, what South Florida's always been known for is speed and fun. And he wants to coach out. No matter who his coordinator is, he wants to coach offense. Like, yes, at times they throw the ball around, but it's still nothing like what we're seeing the rest of college football doing. Like, he wants to have a very old school approach. And I don't understand how you're going to get kids excited on offense with that approach. I just don't see it.
And fans as well. But you can't look like you're a wimp. You can't play like you're scared.
Like, there's got to be a happy medium. Norvell and McDaniel. Look, Norvell and McDaniel do it a little too much for my liking, but I'd rather that because at least you see the team rallies around them as opposed to the guy who's uber conservative, because that's how you fracture a team.
There's no way that you don't feel almost a level of comfort getting the ball back with like a minute and a half.
Yeah, go for
2
it.
2 timeouts. And all you need is a field goal to win the game.
Yeah,
most coaches would say, hey, I have the exact prescription for success in this situation.
Look, I get it's a freshman, and it wasn't even a highly touted freshman. I understand that.
Yeah.
So I'm not telling you to take major risks, but have quick passes in and tell him, look, if it's not open, throw it away. Fuck it. Like, then, okay, worst case, you get overtime. You already want overtime anyways. Like, take a shot at least. Jesus, build some confidence in your team.
Yeah, I mean, that was the worst case scenario if you go for it. I mean, the worst case scenario is a guy, fumbles or throws a pick, and you give them the ball in field goal range themselves and lose the game. That could have happened, but you have to be more confident than that in the players that you put on the field. Otherwise, you probably shouldn't be there to begin with if you're going to play like that.
That's my thing.
And think, hey, I've got to go for it here. I don't have to take a high percentage of risks, and if we don't make it, we're in the same situation I'm playing for anyway. So why not take a shot to win the game?
Exactly. Do a screen.
Insane.
Fucking something. Jesus
Screen pass. Yeah, they threw that same play, wide receiver screen all night long. I mean, that was easy. I mean, just loop one to a back in the backfield and hope he makes one guy miss and runs for 20 yards. You don't need much.
I get it. After Georgia Tech, he was already a conservative dude, so it's only going to make him more conservative. But it's like, I don't know.
I'm looking at that and I'm saying, my God, that sucks. That's criminal that this guy is doing this in this spot. And at that point, you're almost thinking, hey, I hope they lose. As much as I am not a Dabo fan and I root against Clemson like I do Ohio State, and I hate to admit it, but sorry, OJ, I love you, man. But Penn State, I root against them every game.
No.
Right? Were we bashing Franklin at the beginning of that interview? I'm not sure.
After him a little, but everything you're saying is
no.
true.
I'm not sure that I don't have a strong enough opinion about the guy. I don't watch enough Penn State football to say, wow, this guy he was generally regarded as a very good coach and a positive influence on Penn State. But
look, what Penn State fans are saying, like, that's the thing. Look, when you're where UM is, where FSU was, you do want to get to where FSU is. You do. Yeah. You want to get the top 5 contending. But here's the deal: when you contend for 5-6 years, you want to take that next step, or again, a plateau is a plateau, whether it's mediocre or good. You want to keep taking steps. You want to keep elevating. And Franklin hasn't. Like, Franklin has clearly hit a place where he's not getting. Look, they said it in the game. They're like, Penn State and Ohio State are the same team. The difference is Marvin Harrison Jr. Ohio State has him and Penn State doesn't. Penn State has no skill position talent that scares the crap out of you. Yeah. And that's been the case for his entire career there.
Yeah, no, that's relatively true going, back into the distant past also. And they were never
they struggle with that.
Like an offensive juggernaut. They were always very strong on defense. All right, we have to run. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us on today's edition of the Defo Show. For Mike Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest. And as the great Gordon Sully would say at the end of every wrestling match, the greatest sign-off signature ever. So long from the Sunshine State. As we leave you now that.
The time.
I love that, man. So long from the Sunshine State. It's 9:34.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.